The European Union is fighting against.
Shalom Akim, Yahba Shemel Shai, Barakadam, Shem Rakwakwadash. Double honors and salutation to the elders and apostles of Great Moonstone who rule well, as well as the sincere Akim doing the work of Yahba Shemel Shai with all sincerity and singleness of mind, because you already know we're in the last days. All these prophecies that the Most High has given to his prophets, they're all going to come to pass. So we have the whole, role, or the whole debate, the complaints, as well as arguments concerning the business that's been done between the EU and the Persians and the Iranians, and the introduction of sanctions by Trump's administration here in the United States. So it's creating so much tension, man. That the EU has moved to block America's sanctions, and it's all part of prophecy that the beast, which is the EU, shall hate the whore. And then I'm going to bring out some precepts to, let Akim know that it's going down, it's happening. There's no way around it. So I'm just going to play this video real quick.
Against US sanctions that target Iran being imposed after President Donald Trump scrapped the nuclear deal with Tehran. As the deadline for the first round of punitive measures does approach, the EU is enforcing special legislation in a bid to protect its businesses working with Iran. So let's get more details now from our Berlin correspondent, Peter Oliver. Good afternoon again, Peter. Look, we do know, don't we, that the US and the EU are long-standing allies. So many people are asking, well, why are they so out of sync with each other on this issue?
Well, this particular issue over the US's decision to pull out of the Iran nuclear deal has been the thorniest of issues between Brussels and Washington. We heard an almost tearful Federica Mogherini when she was describing her, how much she didn't agree with what Donald Trump had to do when the decision was made earlier this year. She said it had been the result of years and years of diplomatic work to get to this point, and Donald Trump had, dismissed it all away. So what we are going to see is on Tuesday, the first round of US sanctions against Iran will start to come back into play. Now, these will revolve around restrictions on dealing with the US dollar. Also, restrictions on dealings on the metals markets, the global metals markets, including precious metals. Well, this has resulted in a statement from the High Representative for European Foreign Affairs, Federica Mogherini, backed up by the foreign ministers of the United Kingdom, Germany and France, and they've given a resounding no to the US decision.
We are determined to protect European economic operators engaged in legitimate business with Iran. This is why the European Union's updated blocking statute enters into force on the 7th of August to protect EU companies doing legitimate business with Iran from the impact of US extraterritorial sanctions.
So what is the blocking statute? Well, it's a piece of legislation. It was first drawn up back in 1996. It was originally designed to get around a blockade of Cuba. It was significantly rewritten earlier this year, though, specifically to deal with US sanctions against Iran. Ultimately, what it means is that European companies can disregard sanctions by foreign nations, namely the United States.
Who could disregard these sanctions? Those are the elites, man. That are in Europe that have different interests. So it's basically these elites, man. There's no unity among them. They're pulling the strings to benefit their agenda. So America is just gonna be used as a scapegoat. Because the same elites in Europe that run the show are basically the same ones here in America that runs the show too. So whatever they decide they're gonna do is gonna happen. They're just gonna use America as a puppet, to further their plan for a new world order. Because they gotta shut America down, so they gotta create an atmosphere in which America is gonna be viewed as that ultimate bad guy. And then all of a sudden they're gonna gang up against her and then take her out. So it's all It's all prophecy, you know. So at the end of the day, man, it's all a stage, you know, that the Most High has put in play. So the major players in the last days, you know, they're gonna have their lines, man. You know, they're gonna read according to what been scripted. So let me get a quick precept here. So this is from the book of Revelation. Chapter 17. You know, if you read the whole chapter, it's going to tell you about NATO, the EU, America being Babylon, the elect, you know. So it's beautiful, man. And it tells you about every important detail that's very important to this prophecy that we're seeing taking place now. Alright, so this is Revelation chapter 17 verse 16. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, alright, that's the EU, these shall hate the whore, alright. So the 10 horns represent NATO and the beast represents the EU. Alright. So the EU and NATO are basically the same, you know, the same people, the empire of the Edomites, you know, and America is also part of NATO. Alright. These shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. For the Most High hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree, and to give their kingdom unto the beast, unto the words of the Most High shall be fulfilled. So it's all about the Most High allowing these elites, you know, to consolidate their power to fulfill an agenda which has always been on their mind, you know, to create their new world order. So they're gonna do everything in their might to make sure, you know, it happens. But it's all upon the word of Yahweh Shema Shai that things will take place. So whatever these nations decide is gonna happen, it's not really up to them. It's according to the Most High's prophecy. So, I mean, who's going to be affected by all these sanctions? You know, the folks at the bottom, man. You know, businesses, you know, corporations, you know, because we have EU companies that have dealings with Iran. You know, it could be Mercedes-Benz, it could be Volkswagen, maybe Volvo, you know, folks that deal with foreign exchange, you know, trading of precious metals, gold, silver, platinum, you know, pills that create medical devices, pharmaceuticals. So you can imagine if those businesses start facing difficulties to do commerce with Iran, a lot of folks will be out of jobs, you know. They have to go elsewhere to find employment. Otherwise, they're just going to say, you know, F it, we're going against America's desires. They're going to have to continue doing business with the Iranians, and that's going to put them on the sanctions list, you know. So you can imagine what the price of goods is going to be like, you know. Who knows what's going to happen to the dealerships that have German vehicles here in the United States, you know, pharmaceutical companies that sell drugs here in America. You know, how much of the chemicals will they have to export to America? You know, or the so-called medications or devices that they need here in the United States, hospitals, communication devices, you know, things like that. Because all these inventions that the Germans do have, they have patents on them, you know. So you can imagine, how deep the tensions could go, because copyright infringement is no joke, and that's going to create a lot of bad blood. So that's exactly what we're seeing right now. And I mean, Scripture talks about the tension between the nations, the wars and rumors of wars. That's exactly what we're seeing, man. So it's all the basics. It's got to happen. World War III is gonna happen. War over domination. War for influence. That's exactly what we're seeing. So it's there's a power of Yahweh Shimei Shai being played out, and all that the nations could do is just fulfill their role. All right, and I play some more of the video.
In this case, and also the rulings of courts in foreign countries will have no bearing on EU companies. But how that's put into practice, we still don't know how that will take any form. What we do know, though, is that this news has been welcomed in Tehran.
Today, the entire world has shown it disagrees with US policies against Iran. Talk to anyone, anywhere in the world, and they will tell you that Netanyahu, Trump, and bin Salman are isolated, not Iran.
But that decision by Donald Trump to pull out of the 2015...
Yeah, so it's gonna happen. All these tensions is between the Ishmaelites, Edom, against the Persians. It's gonna happen, man. It's gonna ramp up,
15 Iran nuclear deal. It's proving to be a real tough issue between Washington and Brussels, and it's one that doesn't show any sign of going away, because although these sanctions are set to come in on Tuesday, we're expecting more, perhaps even much harsher sanctions to come in by the end of 2018. Yes.
So the sanctions are already in play, man. They already passed it on August the 7th. So you can imagine, what folks are gonna have to deal with. So it's gonna be messed up, but hey, only the Lord can deliver the elect from times like this. Because brothers work in different corporations that have dealings with these Iranians, man. So who knows what's gonna be like. If brothers are gonna start experiencing cuts, here and there, brothers that might be stationed overseas in these different corporations will have to pack up and leave. So just imagine what the Musa has in store, man. These are tough times, but brothers are gonna adjust anyway, because brothers have to be spiritual. That's what the Musa requires. So there's nothing much Esau can do as per the words of Yahweh Shimei Shai. These are the judgments that the Most High has brought upon the nations, and they cannot avoid it. So I'll get another precept here, because America is basically trying to go against the EU, and that move is going to create a huge divide. They're not on the same page now. So that means that the empire of the Edomites is falling apart, because Yahweh Shai talked about a kingdom divided against itself cannot stand, Satan divided against Satan, one adversary against another adversary, there's not going to be any common ground to continue their dominion, all right? So this is the book of Daniel, chapter 9 verse 20. It's like chapter 7. Yeah, if you read the whole chapter, it just lets you know, man. It's basically what you have in the book of Revelation, chapter 17. All right. So this Daniel chapter 7 verse 20, and of the 10 horns that were in his heads. All right. That's the EU, and of which the order and of the order which came up, and before whom tree fell. All right. Those are the Spanish, the French, and the British. You know, they fell before America. Even of that horn that had eyes, and the mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows. So America is looked as that well-favored harlot, you know. If you look at the word stout in the Hebrew, the word there is rab. It says great. All right. Captain, chief. And it says great, Lord, Master. So America is being looked at as one of the chiefest of nations upon the face of the earth. You know, the lords of the earth, you know, the world police, you know, they gotta run things by the Americans first before they make any decisions. But that was once upon a time, and now, you know, that's not gonna be the case anymore. So the elites are going a different direction. You know, they're gonna use America as a scapegoat. In these last days, they gotta diminish America's power, because you see America is getting hard to control nowadays. So they're gonna do their best to burn it down, man. You know, they're gonna turn America inside out. Yeah. So the word for stout there is rab. You know. So Kahalaya Bashim Abshai Bashem Rakakadash, double honors and salutations to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. It's important to understand the prophecies are going to take place. You know, there is no way around it. You know, it's the power of Yabashim.
Yeah, it's definitely going to rumble on, isn't it, Peter? That was it.
And the people will see that the words of Yabashim are true. You know, so you can imagine the destruction that's coming upon the face of the earth. You know, because the prophecies got to take place. There is no way to avoid them. You know, these nations that think that they control their own destiny, they're in a fairy tale world, you know. So the Akim, just stay faithful, stay humble, keep your eyes out for these prophecies taking place. It's important to understand that you need to have the spirit of Yabashim El-Shai guiding you in these last days, man. You don't want to be carnal. You know, you don't want to be nervous or have a hasty mindset when all hell's breaking loose. Because, you know, these tensions between between United States, the EU, as well as the Persians and Russians and China, you know, the people at the bottom will get caught in the middle. You know, folks are going to feel it. But for the elect, you know, it's a transition. You know, so Kahlaya Bashim Abshah Bashim Kwakadash, to the elders and the apostle of Great Millstone who rule well, stay strong in the faith, you know. Shalom.